Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be looking at your fall forecast for 2021. We're going to be reviewing your temperature, precipitation, and overall forecast, as well as your snowfall forecast towards the end of today's video. A couple of announcements. This is the second video out of 7 long-range forecasts that I'll be making throughout the next few days. Yesterday we had your August forecast. Today we're having your fall forecast, and to give you an update on what we're expecting for the rest of the week, on the 11th I'll be making my fall foliage forecast. My winter forecast will be coming out on the 12th. My total snowfall forecast will be coming out on the 13th. My first snowfall forecast out on the 14th, and the first frost forecast out on the 15th. So a bunch of videos coming out for you guys that'll be really exciting over the next few days. If you have any questions or you want a personal forecast, just leave a comment down below. I'll respond to all of your comments and questions within a couple of hours of you posting it. So I like to be on top of all the comments and actually reading them and answering and responding to all of them. So if you have any questions, just leave them down below, and make sure you leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos that we'll have on this channel. So let's start off with your current temperature anomaly map, and we're going to start off again with the above average area. This is where I'm expecting it to be warmer than normal for the majority of the fall time frame, which is from September to November. So from September 1st to the last day of November is when I classify the fall time frame, and I'm expecting again warmer than normal temperatures if you live in the west or even into the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. I will make one note: if you live in the eastern 2/3 of the country, I think that November will be colder for you guys, but September and October probably will be on the warmer side, so it'll average out to near normal or above normal. But just know that I think around the tail end of fall, we're going to get a bit cooler into these regions, and you're going to see that play out into my snowfall forecast at the end of today's video. I'll talk about that a little bit more once we get to that stage of the video. Taking a look at the moderately above normal area, this is where I'm expecting it to be even warmer, and you can see that up for the northwest and the northern plains. I'm expecting it to be moderately above normal. This is the area that I don't think we'll see too many breaks from the warmer temperatures, so I think you won't really have too much of a sustained colder period, although even this area I think will get a little bit colder around the second half of November. We're going into what is expected to be an end zone neutral winter and fall, and typically with these you see a bit of a warmer fall, and then it transitions into a much colder December, January, February, even into March, with a lot more snow, especially in the east. So that's generally what I'm basing my forecast off of, as well as some of the longer range climatological models. So these are the two main things that I'm forecasting based off of. This is my first of many fall forecasts that I'll probably be doing. I'll probably have 2 or 3 total fall forecasts before we actually get through the majority of fall, so I'll probably have a few more of these fall and winter forecasts. This is definitely only my first one, and again, especially with the winter forecast, I'll have probably 3 or 4 more of those out as we get more information, as we get more updates on what the longer range models and forecasts are showing. So here's a look at the below average region. I only have that for a small portion of the coastal southeast and also the Gulf Coast. Now, these are the areas that I think for a prolonged period, especially for September and November. October might be a little bit warmer in these areas, but for September and November especially, I think will be near normal or maybe even a little bit cooler than normal. And I think just because you're having probably 2 out of those 3 months that are either near normal or below normal, that should outweigh the warmer temperatures. And for that reason, I think once you look back at this fall, I think most likely these areas in the southeast will end up averaging a little bit below normal in terms of the temperatures. So taking a look at your precipitation anomalies, this is showing you where I'm expecting above normal or below normal rainfall and snowfall. So this is basically just showing you how much precipitation compared to normal I'm expecting throughout these 3 months. I'm expecting the monsoon season to kind of linger into September, maybe even into October, so that should bring above normal rainfall into parts of the southwest. And then I have another area for the Great Lakes where there's been a lot of model indication that we will see above normal rainfall within that region. Because of that, I think we might see some above normal rainfall and also above normal snowfall, mainly because the models really pick up the precipitation anomalies into November, which is the snowiest month out of all of the fall months. So when we're looking at that, when the highest precipitation month is going to be November, which is also the coldest month in fall, that is a good indication that we might see some overlap with some snowfall into those regions. So that is something that we want to pay attention to. Again, we're going to get into your snowfall forecast in just one moment. Taking a look at the moderately above average region, that's going to be for parts of Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. So again, I'm expecting moderately above average rainfall into these areas. Again, that's mainly for September and October, early October mainly. Probably will die down as we get into later October, November. That's when I think it'll probably go back to being a bit drier into these regions. But I think you'll get enough rainfall in through September that should carry you out and should leave you above average for the rest of the fall season. Taking a look at where I'm expecting it to be drier, that's going to be for the northern plains and also along the east coast and the southeast. So this is where I'm expecting it to be below normal or drier than normal into these areas. And again, this is going from September through November. So let's say that October is a bit wetter in these areas, but September and November are drier. That means that you're going to average out to being below normal. Although when you look at an averaged out map, you're not going to see that October was, let's say, above normal in terms of the precipitations. This is not showing you the full picture. It's only showing you what the averaged out look would be if you were to look back at this a couple months later and see what the average for these 3 months were. So you're not gonna be able to tell whether you'll see an above average stretch of rainfall. If there were to be a stretch of above average rainfall, it's probably going to be in through September, especially with the hurricane season potentially getting to a peak in September. Those areas along the coastal southeast and the Gulf Coast could potentially see a bit of a rise in precipitation if that were to be the case. Taking a look at the snowfall forecast, we'll start off in the west, where I'm expecting it to be slightly below normal. I'm not expecting, and by the way, this is only counting for areas that would typically see snowfall at this time period. So I know for parts of coastal California, they don't really see too much snowfall. That's not saying that I think you'll see snowfall. I just think that if you were to see snowfall, especially in those mountainous areas, it's going to be probably a little bit below what is normal. I think you'll get a bit of a later start to the mountain snow season within these regions. So again, this snowfall forecast only pertains to areas that would typically see snowfall within this time frame. Not really talking about some of these areas further south into Southern California or parts of the southeast for this time of year, which typically won't see their first snowfall until December or January. So we're only talking about the areas that would normally see snowfall up to this point. Slightly above average snowfall for these areas into the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and to the northeast. So this is going to probably have to come in the later half of November, but the reason I think this is going to happen is because when you look at some of these longer range models, they're really eyeing up for the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and then the interior Northeast to see an uptick in precipitation right around the November timeframe. You're also correlating that with November being the coldest month out of all the fall months, and then you're also saying that potentially we could be even below normal for November. So when you add all those things up, I think we have a above average amount of snowfall for this month, or at least it should be above average. Again, this is going to be dictated by 1 or 2 storms that could maybe drop a few inches of snowfall into these spots, and that could push you above normal for the month of November, considering that a lot of these areas don't see too much snowfall in November. Most of that is going to come in December, January, February. So you don't need necessarily a ton of snowfall to end up being above normal with the snowfall anomalies. Here's where I'm thinking it's going to be the most above normal, the moderately above average region for parts of the Great Lakes. Now, this is mainly because of, first of all, lake effect, especially if you live in western Michigan or even the UP of Michigan and into northern Wisconsin. So I think you could see some lake effect in those areas that could help with some of the snowfall totals, especially considering that September and October will be warmer. Warmer lakes would mean that you're able to get more lake effect snowfall. So That is a benefit if you want snowfall and you live around the Great Lakes. And then also, I just think that this is going to be the area with the most above average precipitation as we get into late October and into November, when the snow season is really going to start up into these parts. So this is when I'm expecting most of the snowfall. And again, this is going to mostly pertain to November. We're not expecting too many storms in September or early October as of this point. So let's talk about your overall forecast. And right now we don't have any labels on here, but we will be showing you what each individual color means in just 1 second. And again, this is going from September to November. Taking a look at the west, this is where I'm expecting warmer than normal temperatures. I think especially if you live in the southwest, it'll be a little bit above normal with the rainfall. But other than that, it's just going to be a plain out warmer fall, especially for the first 2 months. Maybe parts of the northwest can get a little bit colder as we get into the middle or later part of November. But again, I think most of the fall months will be a little bit warmer than normal. I don't think it'll be too outstanding. I don't think you're going to notice it too much, but I think it will definitely be a degree or two above normal for the fall time frame. Taking a look at the Rockies, this is where I'm expecting mountain snow. And to be a little bit more specific, I'm expecting a little bit less mountain snow than what is typical. If you live in the central or southern Rockies, I think you'll actually get a little bit more mountain snow than what is normal. But if you live in the northern Rockies, I don't think you'll see as much mountain snow into these spots. So that's my general forecast for the Rockies snow season for September through November. And of course, we're going to have your winter forecast out in just a couple of days here, and we'll talk about the snow season in the Rockies for the winter time frame, which I classify from December through February. Here's a look at the northern plains. I'm expecting drier conditions in through this area. Nothing really too noticeable, or nothing too really major in terms of the long range pattern, but I do think that you'll see a few inches less rainfall or precipitation than what is normal. I also think the snowfall for the fall months will be either near normal or maybe even a little bit below normal into some of these spots. If you live, the only exception I would say would be if you live in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Iowa, which is also in this brown area. I think those areas could see maybe some snowfall as you get into November, especially, but the rest of those areas, the Dakotas, Wyoming, Montana, I think will be a little bit on the lower side in terms of snowfall, although it is still very likely that you'll see at least 1 or 2 snowstorms before the fall time frame is over. Back and forth conditions, if you live in the central plains, you're going to be squashed in between the colder and warmer temperatures, in between the above average precipitation and the below normal precipitation. So you're going to be right in between everything. And for that reason, I'm going to put you in back and forth. You're going to go from colder to warmer and vice versa throughout the entire fall season. So there's not going to be one set defined pattern throughout this entire 3 month span. Pretty much the same thing over the southern plains. I'm expecting it to be average into these areas. Again, there's nothing that's going to be too notable. You're going to be in between, again, the warmer temperatures and the colder temperatures. You'll also be squashed in between the drier and wetter conditions. So when you're in between both those things, you're going to be fairly close to the average or the normal within parts of the southern plains. Hurricane threats still persist. A lot of people forget that in October and November, we're still in hurricane season. A lot of people think that it ends around August or September just because most of the storms are in August and September. But in reality, we do have storm threats all the way through October, November, and even last year, I believe we had a couple that were in December and January, if I'm not mistaken. So they can last all the way into pretty much the winter time. So we still want to pay attention to these areas. I just want to remind you guys, if you live along the Gulf Coast or the Southeast Coast, that you still have the threat of hurricanes or tropical storms, and I'll be covering each individual one as they head through and closer to the United States. We'll have to see if we even get any that move into this area, but I just want to mention it that hurricane season would still be ongoing. It does not end until, I believe, November 31st, or the last day of November. So until then, the hurricane season and the hurricane threat would still be persisting and would still be there, and you still would have to pay attention to it. Mild early, especially in the Tennessee Valley. So I think you'll be a little bit chillier around November, but I think for as you get into September and then the first half, or maybe even the first 2/3 of October, I think will be milder than normal. So I think you'll get your milder air in through that time frame. Your fall foliage will probably be pushed back a couple of weeks, but Other than that, I think again it's going to be milder in these areas. It will be probably cooler again towards the middle or later part of November as we're heading closer to the winter time frame. But again, mild early in parts of the Tennessee Valley and parts of the Mid South. For parts of the coastal Northeast and into the lower Ohio Valley, this is where I'm expecting some late snow. And again, this would probably be the last 2 weeks of November for these areas, especially if you live in the mid Atlantic or the lower Ohio Valley. If you live up in New England or especially northern New England, this is where I think you could see some snowfall even starting in October. If you live in the higher elevations of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, if you live in, let's say, central or southern New England, you're probably going to want to push that back to early or mid November for when you could see your first snowfall. And again, my first snowfall forecast will be coming out on the 14th, and that's where I'm going to break down when you average your first snowfall of the year. So we'll be talking about that in just a few days on this channel. Snowy November in parts of the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and also into parts of the interior Northeast. This is going to be the area that I think for November you're going to want to pay close attention to, because I think we could definitely see 1, 2, even 3 storms with decent potential to drop multiple inches of snowfall. So I think we're going to get off to a hot start here with the snow season. I think probably going into December, we'll have already above normal snow totals, and then we'll have to see whether you add on to that through December or whether it kind of dies down through December and into January. And again, we're going to have your winter forecast out in just a couple of days, and we're going to answer more of those questions in those videos. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Just a clarifier and also just a reminder, again, this is the upcoming schedule, and again, the schedule is in the description down below. So if you want to check out the schedule and you just want to kind of read it out for yourself, it's in the description, but I'll read it out right now. Yesterday we uploaded the August forecast. That was on the 9th. The 10th is today, and we're doing the fall forecast, the fall foliage forecast coming out tomorrow on the 11th, the winter forecast out on the 12th, and then for the 13th, we're going to be putting out the total snowfall forecast, the first snowfall forecast out on the 14th, and the first frost forecast will be coming out on the 15th. After that, on the 16th and beyond, we go back to the daily current weather uploads. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you have any questions or you want a personal forecast, leave a comment down below, and I'll be answering most of your comments within just a few hours of you posting them. That is going to wrap it up for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.